Hello, Nets fans. Another disappointing loss, but Nick is here. Things will be all right. Nick, how are you, mate?
I'm doing all right, Jack. Like I said before, we're kind of getting used to these Nets losses, so they don't really bother you as much. But this one was kind of embarrassing, losing to the Cavs at home by two in a close game.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a reminder, guys, you can find the Buzz, iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, NetsRepublic.com, Dash Radio, and YouTube. So, Nick, let's get right to it. What went wrong? 2-point loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, one of the worst teams in the league right now.
Well, we'll start. I guess we'll kind of work backwards. The Nets had a nice fourth quarter. Kenny put in Rodions, kind of sparked the team. D'Angelo hit some big shots. They cut it. They got a tie game, 97-97. And then next play down, Alec Burks works in a pick and roll, ends up on Spencer Dinwiddie, works Spencer Dinwiddie to the rim, gets an easy dunk. They go up two. Now the Nets have the inbound, and all they end up with is another one of those. I don't know if you recall, Jack, but Spencer Dinwiddie took one of those, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a fadeaway to the sideline three
Yep,
to
three
go
of
for the win.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. Took one of those, missed, didn't even hit rim, actually. They had 3 seconds on the clock, so there's some question, could they have gotten a better shot? It looked like they were almost not about to get an inbound in. So, but in the start of this one, it was just another one of no energy. Defensive energy was bad. They didn't make shots. It was just a really bad effort from a lot of players. Very few guys played well other than probably Rodions. And D'Angelo had his moments, but the shooting percentage wasn't great either.
What needs to change, Nick? Obviously, what has happened to our offense? It was so quality earlier. Now we're under that 40% mark from the field, under 25% from three, and a pretty putrid 56% from the line.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of guys aren't making shots. They're not doing great things offensively. I think if you look at this team right now, consistently, you're only getting good offensive performances from Dinwiddie, D'Angelo, Russell. They're either creating on nights or setting up themselves to hit shots. And if they're not doing it, nobody else is. Shabazz has done it here and there. He's made some shots, but defensively, he's a liability. You see teams now going at him, working him in the post and whatnot. And offensively, when you look at the rest of the team, who can really create for themselves? Alan Crabb has probably been a negative offensive player. Same thing for Rondé Hollis-Jefferson. Jared Allen needs, things created for him. Jared Dudley, you don't expect that from him at this age. And DeMar Carroll had one of his games where it looks like he's not back 100% yet. So just a lot of players in this team aren't doing great things offensively. They really miss a Karis LeVert. They really miss a Joe Harris as well. Rodions, like I said, in that second half, late third quarter, fourth quarter, gave some energy to this team, and I definitely expect to see Rodions a lot more in the future.
Touching on Rodions there, Nick, our boy Brian Fonseca says he expects him to see him as a starter. If you were to give an estimate on it, how quickly do you see that happening in the near future?
I think a lot, to be honest, depends on trades. December 15th is a date we've talked about where the Nets can kind of start trading free agents and other teams can as well. If they've moved some of the other bigs in this team, I could see him starting later in the season, especially if they go into full, play the young guy / tank mode. I think February is a real possibility. If not, I also wouldn't be surprised if he didn't start at all, but I expect him to get the minutes. Like everything good happened when Rodions came in the game. It's just small things from deflections, rebounds, cuts to the rim, just being very active. And that's not something that could have been said for a lot of Nets tonight.
Yeah, he's certainly going to exceed our expectations of 40 to 50 games unless Coach Kenny does something, horribly stupid. But Nick, where does this performance rank for D'Lo on the season? Is it a top 5? Is it a top 10? Was it sort of inflated somewhat by the box score?
It's really tough to say because it was a lot on D'Angelo. Like Spencer Dinwiddie got in foul trouble early in this game. He got 3 fouls in the first quarter. So you saw more D'Angelo. There was more pressure on him and Shabazz. And I feel like, he had a solid game. I wouldn't say it was a great game because of the, shooting percentage, but some of that is the rest of the team. So I felt like he did a good job. It wasn't like an amazing performance, but I don't think it was a bad performance either. There was a couple defensive plays where I thought he was kind of, lax as well. He had a couple deflections too, but I wouldn't put it anywhere like super special. He put up the point total, but it wasn't like, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's fair. Now Ed Davis continues to dominate on the rebounds, Nick. He's only earning, 15 to maybe 20 minutes a night. Do you think he deserves a little more court time, and who would you take those minutes off if so?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can make an argument for Ed Davis to get more court time. I think you take it away whoever you're playing small ball center with. I think sometimes it's just like they put Ed Davis in a bad position where there's not a lot of other great offensive players out there. So it makes him look worse because he can't really do a ton offensively other than, the putbacks and, easy lay-ins. So I feel like some of the lineups he's in just aren't really helping him, and it's kind of making him look worse. I think if you played him a little bit more with some better guards, which seems to be the problem right now, it's just like, they just don't have great guard play consistently, and like guys are out of rhythm. It's like one moment it's like D'Angelo, next moment Spencer Dinwiddie. It's like you're not seeing them connecting a lot and gelling really well. And like I said with Shabazz seems to be playing okay with both of them, but defensively he just keeps getting worked.
Yeah, there's a lot of mismatches. It seems going forward, and I think that's going to be a huge issue. How much of the issues that you've talked about, Nick, do you think Joe Harris solves when he eventually returns? I mean, it was supposed to be a very light adductor strain, so to speak, but obviously we know the Nets like to take their precautions. But what sort of problems can Joe Harris solve?
Joe Harris, I mean, he can definitely help with the scoring and the 3-point shooting, adding some energy to the team. Defensively, he's not amazing, but he'll still bring effort out there. So, I mean, he'll help the team, but I think the issues are bigger than him. And that's not saying, Joe Harris isn't a good player. I think before he was, even out, the issues were kind of coming up, and now it just looks worse and worse. And I think the team is losing confidence, and they're just like the momentum has come to a complete stop.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's been, a pretty horrid couple of weeks for us and Nets fans in general. But Nick, we'll touch on a couple more things. Just to give myself a shout out, I almost broke the entire Twitter organization when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. Kenneth Faried made some comments. There was a comment via Instagram. He was liking the fact that Jared Dudley was getting minutes and he was being called a bum, and he liked that comment. I decided to screenshot, put it on my Twitter. I literally opened my phone 2 hours later after I've done a couple lessons of teaching, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this has happened now. And Brian's contacted me saying he's going to be writing an article for Nets Daily. Nick, does Kenneth Faried deserve some minutes now?
To be honest, I don't see any way that Kenneth Faried's really going to help this team. I know people are like, well, why don't you just play him? Like, what is he going to do? Does he do anything really better than Jared Allen and Ed Davis?
Uh, Maybe. No, actually, no.
I mean, like, you can make an argument he can catch oops better than Ed Davis, and he gives you like some vertical spacing, but it feels like every time someone throws an oop to him, he messes it up or he drops it, or the pass is kind of out of sync because they don't have chemistry. Defensively, I think like some people think that he's actually good, but he's not. That was a big issue for Denver, why he wasn't getting minutes. And rebounding wise, yeah, he can rebound, but Ed Davis can rebound. Jared Allen's improved as a rebounder, and he can shot block. So I don't really see much that Faried's going to bring this team that's going to help. If you ask me who I want to see more minutes to, it's going to be Rodions. I would even make an argument I want to see minutes from Musa before I want to see minutes for Faried.
Yeah, you can even make an argument for
Even
Alan
Theo
Williams as
Pinson.
well. Theo Pinson, Alan Williams. We have some young depth there, and I think. But I'll go to the devil's advocate here, Nick. I think that it can't hurt now. We are in the situation where we are nowhere near going to make the playoffs anymore. We're 9 games behind 500. I think the season is almost a lost cause. And I think you need to start sort of saying, okay, is Kenneth Faried going to do something long term? Or is he just going to be sort of like a Jahlil Okafor sort where he can have his flashes and, he can play some junk time here and there. But that's just my personal opinion, because I think Coach Kenny needs to just try some things now. He's going to have that sort of freedom, for lack of a better term, because the Nets aren't going to be a winning organization this year. We aren't going to be pushing for playoffs, at least in my opinion, unless something absolutely gargantuanly changes. But for me, nothing's going to change that. It's going to get us back into that playoff race. Do you think that there's, any reasons for that? And am I on the right track, or am I just sort of, spitting hot air here?
I mean, I could see the fact of wanting to see him play, but I think if you think the season's already over, you can make an argument. Then why not just buy him out? Because I don't think Kenneth Faried in any scenario is going to be in the long-term future of the Nets, and that's nothing against him. Like we've kind of talked about before, the way he kind of plays basketball isn't a great fit in the current NBA unless he's going to play small ball 5, and he hasn't really proven that he can do that. Obviously, he hasn't gotten time with the Nets, but in the past. So I think like there's an argument where let's throw him out there, see what he can do. Maybe we give Ed Davis rest for a night and we let Faried have some of those 5 minutes or something like that. But otherwise, I think you could also consider buying him out and bringing up a G League guy, like which we kind of mentioned before, giving them a real shot to see if they can be a piece for the future of this team.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Now, the golden question, Nick, do the Nets tank going forward, or is it still too early?
I think it's still slightly too early. I mean, this one is embarrassing, like we talked about, losing to the Cavs 99-97 at home when you're on a 6-game losing streak, a great opportunity against a team that really is not very talented, and you just didn't come to play. I think it's definitely starting to send a message to like what the fans want is like, all right, this team doesn't have talent. Karis LeVert's great, but he's not this great where he's, LeBron James to a team or something like that. So I think it's getting more so. So let's play the young guys, see what pieces are going to be for the future of the Nets. Not really that important about the rest of the year. Maybe you start cutting those minutes for Jared Dudley. Rodions starts to pick them up, like we mentioned. Some of the G League or the two-way contracts start to get pulled up a little bit too, and then you start to sell off some of the vets as the trade deadline approaches.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Guys like Damari Carroll, Jared Dudley, Kenneth Faried, like you mentioned, as a buyout candidate. To be honest, if you're playing Rodions Kurtz, and this is just me, and you'll probably agree as well, I think he adds more value than a guy like Jared Dudley. And if you're wanting to tank, like how, say, the Bulls would play like a Cristiano Felicia or a Cameron Payne, if you want to tank, you play bad players. Jared Dudley is not that good of a player, and I think Rodions Kurtz is going to be a good player and has that potential. So, I mean, if we wanted to win games, I would play more Rodions. But at the same time, yeah, you do factor into player development and stuff. But any more things to touch on here, Nick? Any positive to take from the performance, or is it mostly a wholly negative night?
I think it's, mostly negative, but like I said, Rodion's had some great energy. And like you said, Jack, he might be a better player than Dudley right now. And I think that's what you do. You don't go out and be like, all right, guys, we're going to lose all these games. We're just going to play the young guys and kind of let them have the most opportunity. Maybe that's less minutes for a guy like Rondae, who doesn't seem like he's a great fit moving forward. Maybe that's less minutes for Alan Crabb, and you just worry about his contract later on. You start to give those minutes to the young guys. I just think you need to see what you have with this team moving forward. You play the young guys, and you kind of see what happens. I don't think there's any point in trying to be really competitive right now, especially in the route you're going. 7-game losing streak, and Karis LeVert could possibly now sit out the whole season if they think they're not going to be competitive.
It's a fair call. Well, Nick, at least we have January to look forward to, at least.
Yes, we do, Jack. At least, we'll give the Brooklyn Buzz fans some interesting stuff. But, Jack, this is our 100th episode, so I know.
Wow, forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a pretty big deal, and we want to, first off, big shout out to everyone who supported us, listened to the show, subscribed, reviewed us on iTunes. We really appreciate it. Interacted with us on Twitter. For any type of OTG content, Nets content, or any of Jack's Nets Republic content, really appreciate it. But, Jack, what's been some of your favorite moments so far with the Buzz?
Well, Nick, it's partly sort of solidified, not just like our sort of relationship with the Nets, but also through OTG and stuff. It was, sort of an idea, a pie in the sky sort of thing. And then it sort of just developed from there. And, it's sort of, I've grown with this podcast as a writer, as a lover of the Nets, as a fan of the Nets, as, someone who's become immersed in, Nets Twitter and stuff. And, there's been plenty of episodes, when we were talking about, Karis LeVert and the Chipotle and praising Sean Marks and the Nicholas Letourneau episode, having Brian on, all of the special guests along the way, our fan episodes. There's been plenty of highlight moments, it's hard to narrow it down to one, but the fact that this has brought me closer to not just, you, but also the Brooklyn Nets as a whole, it's been a great experience, and one that I've cherished over the past couple of years.
Yeah, no, Jack, it has. It's been great. And like you said, it's just something we kind of started, and it's really taken off. And like we said, we really appreciate everything. And there's been so many great episodes, so many great segments, just different things. I mean, even just recently, the pizza topping thing was so much fun. And like you said, bringing on Brian. Then also, like, I really enjoyed doing the player reviews and the season previews for like the individual players. I had a lot of fun doing that series.
Yeah, I mean, it has not been a moment that I haven't enjoyed recording, researching, talking Nets with you. And to everyone that has come along with us for the ride, we're only going to go up. The roller coaster hasn't even peaked yet, guys. And we're looking forward to riding it with you.
Exactly, Jack. And really looking forward to this next year. And even though the Nets might not be great this year, Jack and I are going to do everything we can to provide you with the best possible content.
You know it.
And that wraps it up for today. Make sure you follow us on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, OTGBasketball.com, NetsRepublic.com, Dash Radio, and YouTube.